Here we are again with a little delay, and hearing words of wisdom, let it be in the wisdom factory.
Continue, yes.
Yeah, hello and welcome to the Wisdom Factory, which is a forum for open-minded people like you and us. And they have knowledge and experience and wisdom to share with the world. I'm Heidi Hornlein.
And I'm M.Davenpo.
Our topics cover many areas of human experience. We invite people who not only have interesting things to say about their topics and about their lives, but they have also an evolved perspectives on themselves and what they are doing. They all feel inspired to contribute to the creation of a better world by helping people gain a better understanding and perspective on what is happening both in the world and in their own life, and what they can contribute to the resolution of so many problems which we are facing at this moment of history.
You're watching the 15th episode of the Wisdom Factory. It's entitled Cooking and Eating a la Integral with Chef Dennis Littley and Sven Werchan. But before we introduce our guest, a couple words about us, your hosts. We both were attracted to integral theory several years ago, which deeply changed our lives. So we're counselors and coaches, especially for creating thriving relationships. And we run an association, a retreat, and a guest house called Paradiso Integrale in Umbria, Italy, where we're calling from tonight, where you are welcome to stop by. And please do.
So we are happy that finally we have Chef Dennis here, and we can begin with presenting him. I don't think we need much presentation because he is so well known in Google+. I think 600,000 followers you have, and you have 3 shows which are going on. Good Day Google, the Food and Booth show, and Around the Kitchen Table. So you are a chef and very open-minded and interested in new things. So welcome, Chef Dennis.
Well, thank you very much, and I'm really sorry about all the problems we had with me getting in. It's one of those things, you don't know what's going on, but I'm actually signed in as you now, so I'm on.
All right.
It's okay. It's at least you are here, and we don't know why you fell out. So
what's it like to be me?
It's good. It's a good feeling. I'm sitting in the big chair.
All right.
Okay, so will you introduce Sven?
And
he's
Sven,
Dr. Sven.
Dr. Sven Werchan. He's a medical doctor, and he also holds a PhD in nutritional medicine. He's a psychotherapist, communication trainer, and has been inspired for more than 20 years by the integral theory of Ken Wilber, Steve McIntosh, Andrew Cohen, and others. He works as a seminar leader, advisor, coach, and he lives in Berlin.
So welcome, Sven.
Welcome, Sven.
Hello, welcome. It's nice to be with you.
Yeah, and we have to say to the listeners, if there are Germans here, we have already done a show in German talking about integral nutrition. So you can look it up in the Wisdom Factory or on our website, which you see here, the powerofrelationship.com, and go to the Wisdom Factory. Okay.
So,
integral
we have a beginning.
Cooking and eating. What does it mean? Shall we first ask Sven, what would you say? What is integral?
In regards to nutrition.
Yeah, integral would mean for me that we include in our perspective all aspects of eating itself. So when we talk about nutrition, we talk about what we eat. Yeah? But eating is an experience. Eating has a lot to do with what we experience, how the food is smelling, what the taste is, what happened around the table with other people, and all these things. And integral means to take all this into consideration and to see eating as something that it actually is a very complex phenomenon in our world, and it's not just about carbohydrates and proteins and the mental concept that science is presenting us about eating.
Okay. This is an interesting perspective. So you would say if somebody goes to the doctor, to you, and you have to decide what they shall eat, you wouldn't constrict yourself on telling them no carbohydrates or no gluten or no what, but you would do a further inquiry?
Yeah, I mean, it can be useful to exclude certain parts of our nutrition to try how we feel without carbohydrates or how we feel without gluten and stuff. But but usually we present as doctors a certain definition of what a good nutrition would be for the customer or for the patient. But usually we don't help them to find a way to implement this in their world. And to implement this in their world, it would mean to look how they deal with nutrition in their world, how they experience this, what kind of additional function maybe eating has in their life, how that would affect other people, how other people affect their choices concerning nutrition, and to really to look on the topic of nutrition in the context of the whole world, of the world of the client, and to help them to find ways that are appropriate for who they are and what they are in their lives right now.
Well, that's a much wider perspective than I think people ordinarily think of when they think of food, primarily as nutrition. But obviously, you know, we use food in all kinds of circumstances, sometimes just for celebration. We raise toasts to one another, and that's not for nutrition, but it's still a very significant use of food, for example. And when we're driving on the road, we just stop and grab a quick bite and drive on, and don't worry too much about what's happening in our stomach. So they're just all, and maybe that's the way you need to do it if you want to get someplace on time. So it can be very complicated.
Yeah, it can be complicated, especially if we are not aware about the deeper motivations that we have. It's not only hunger. I mean, it has many social functions. Our eating has many social functions, and we should acknowledge this, because only when we embrace and acknowledge these functions, we can talk about maybe to change them if that is necessary or that is helpful. But without seeing this, people are not able or even willing to have a sustained change in their life if that is necessary, especially for their health or for other reasons.
I would like at this point to ask Chef Dennis. I have heard you had done some changes in your nutrition. How does it feel like? Do you think you have to renounce on something, or are you able? Give up something, or are you able with your good way of cooking to make it so beautiful, this food, that you don't feel the missing parts?
Well, I've gone through a lot of different stages with my cooking. I have been basically a very basic chef, though, and I think minimalistic in some terms, of where when I cook meats, vegetables, and fish, I like olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, salt, and pepper with a few fresh herbs. So, I mean, I do take that minimalistic approach to a lot of what I do eat. So that doesn't really seem to bother me as much as when you start getting into sauces or you start getting into side dishes, and then you start noticing changes. Yeah, I went gluten-free in October. It was my own choice. I hadn't been tested. I just think I was eating way too much gluten. There's a comedian, I always say it, he goes, I don't know what gluten is, but evidently it's delicious. So, you know.
Pasta, Italian spaghetti, it's delicious. Yeah.
No, Barilla makes a wonderful gluten-free pasta, and that's what I eat now. So it's been working pretty good for me. And I didn't get the desired results I was hoping for when I went gluten-free, but I got some unexpected results. One result for me personally was that a fog felt like it was lifted off of me, and I could think clearer. I didn't seem to need as much sleep, and I didn't have cravings for baked goods. So that was just kind of odd, and it was like, kind of a good thing. And then I have a new doctor, and she diagnosed me as being soy and dairy allergic. So those are the new challenges I put on my plate. And soy, except that it's in everything in the United States, is just something I don't need in my diet. It just means I have to go back to making more of what I do eat unless I can find some healthy options. And a lot of times there's vegan options that are made without soy, so that's a good way to look for different products to add in. But it's not going to stifle my creativity. It's not going to. It may change a little bit of how I eat, but since I cook at home a good percentage of the time, anyway, I can address what I'm making and just make some changes along the way. So I feel very fortunate in the fact that I have the ability to do that, and I'm going to start, making more recipes that way and share them, on my blog too. So hopefully I can pass some of it along.
This is wonderful, Chef Dennis. I think you should come to Italy, because here, this minimalistic approach, you find it everywhere. We don't have all these sauces. Sometimes now in the supermarket you find it too, but this is the American influence. Here, olive oil, salt, pepper, pepperoncino, and vinegar. That's the only thing we use, Maybe some garlic sometimes, or some herbs, but that's it. So
Not much pepper.
Not much pepper, no. More pepperoncino.
I find myself using more pepper now because I'm trying to cut back on salt. So where I won't take the salt shaker to the table with me, I will take the pepper grinder with me, and I use sea salt for everything too. So, whether that's better for me or not, I'm not sure. But I think the major problem in the United States is that we eat and do so many things that the rest of the world would never think of. I mean, we allow products to go into the items that we eat and not to be labeled properly. And over in Europe, that doesn't happen. That doesn't float. So that's part of the problem. Like, you guys are eating a better diet to begin with, because a lot of the bad things aren't in your food as they are in the United States. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. I do have some suggestions about things that we can find more easily in Italy. We have a friend coming from Chicago in a few days, and he's bringing a giant jar of peanut butter for me, for which I'm very grateful.
This is adaptation problem in Europe. But without sugar.
No sugar.
No sugar.
That's fine. Yeah, I know. I feel bad sometimes when I say I don't really like Nutella, and that seems like what Europe lives on is Nutella. I like my peanut butter too.
Yeah. Sven, what do you say to that?
I heard an important word from Chief Dennis. That's creativity. I think to see nutrition or eating is a behavior, basically. So when we ask people to change a behavior, it's not an easy thing to do. It is not about mentally or understand something mentally, but to really change a behavior that's deeply ingrained in our biological body, in our psychological body, even in our social body. And creativity is always a great resource to change process. So because usually we say to people, don't eat this and don't eat that. And then the people are standing there, then what to do now? And to start to think out of the box and to really go into a supermarket or a health food store and to find new ways to first buy stuff and then to create stuff and then to eat in different situations. It just needs creativity. Creativity in cooking, creativity in creating situations. If I'm on the road a lot, I need to prepare some food. Otherwise, I'm just I'm just the subject to the opportunities along the way. So I think it's a major resource, and a good cook can help us to enhance this, because he has the creativity in cooking and can help us to create new recipes.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
At this point, I would like to acknowledge people who are here listening to us, watching us too. I see Michael Thomas, Cindy Fleming Alton, Elena Bellometti, la beautiful Italiana, Dave Pye, Bridget O. I don't know. Marcus Dieterle is here too.
Okay,
wonderful.
Okay.
Maybe others. I cannot scroll down too much. And then there is a comment from Michael Thomas, which I want to show you. He says, awareness and adjustments, modifications, and applications are the key to healthy and happy longevity. I agree, Chef Dennis.
Definitely, and it's just a matter of putting the right things in your body at the right times. And we were talking about integral, and food is really integral in a way as it takes up all of your senses. It integrates every one of your senses into the activity. I mean, when you're cooking, and when you're eating, there's sight, there's smell, there's hearing, like sometimes your food will crackle and pop and make different noises. There's everything, the taste, everything comes into play. And you're using all of your senses to really enjoy the food. And you have to approach it that way. That's why when cooking, a lot of times you want to look not just for flavors, but you want to look for textures as well.
Yeah, and touch, when you eat a chicken bone.
I saw this crazy movie one time, and people all over the world had this disease, and they were losing senses, and the first sense they lost was their taste. And people stopped going to restaurants, and then the chefs decided that they started to make more textures in their food, so people started going and enjoying all the different textures because they could still feel the textures that they were eating. They couldn't taste them, but they could still feel it. So it's all part of the picture, all part of the package. And taking food that, if you're just eating for fuel, sometimes we all do that, and sometimes it's necessary. But if you're eating to enjoy food, if you're celebrating something of life, whether it's just a family dinner around the table, everyone's home, or with someone special, you want the food to be a little more memorable. You want to be able to enjoy it and savor it and sense it.
Yeah, and there I would come into, because when we are inside of the idea we are too fat and we have to not to eat, and then there is some of these dinners and you stay there and have always the bad conscience, I shouldn't eat that, but now a little bit I want to try, and you shouldn't have done that. And, we are beating ourselves up for doing this, and I can't imagine this is a very good thing to do. What do you say, Sven?
Yeah, actually, it's terrible how we lost our ability to freely enjoy food. I think that's really part of the problem. It's not only what we eat; it's also that we lost our innocence in eating. Yeah, and it starts very early. And I think an integral approach would even offer a way to go back the way to an innocence, to freedom, to nutritional freedom, and that is to be more aware of what's really good for us. I think when we eat too much, it is partly because of we are not aware of the signals of the body. We are not so much aware of the texture and smelling and tasting, because my experience is, and people in my seminars, when we start eating very with a lot of awareness, and we really go into we really smell, we really taste, and we are with the food, we don't need so much. And it's about taking the time and
yeah, this is here a comment from Cindy, and she says mindfulness, particularly when eating, is something that many people have.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's something we can always do when we think about it. I mean, of course, there will be moments, or actually many moments, where we just in a hurry and we just eat fast. But more and more we can rediscover how much pleasure is in food, or can be, and we go into the depths of this pleasure, and we rediscover, or maybe discover for the first time, how much pleasure there can be. And we can allow this even to share with other people, and so it is a self-perpetuating process, at least in my experience. So I enjoy food much more today than 10 years ago.
Well,
Wonderful.
Food and eating is a very sensual experience.
Absolutely.
I mean, when you think about it, I mean, some of the reactions you get from eating something and what it makes you feel is really closely tied to some of the sensations you feel, in a sexual experience. It's just sometimes it's just like overwhelming. It may not last as long, but it's overwhelming.
Yeah, absolutely. And why not to celebrate it like this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like eating. Sometimes we call it eating tantra. Yeah, to really go into it, to really enjoy and to celebrate also.
I think I will come to one of your seminars, because often I give myself the task to eat slowly and to enjoy it mindful, and then I do it for a while, and then I find myself, after I've eaten half the plate, this is such a habit. And I think also from childhood, we were 5 children. Who was finished first could take the next piece. So there are so many things which are connected with with eating, the competition. And
I was curious, Sven, about, you mentioned about us having lost a kind of innocence. And I'm wondering if our audience understands what you mean by that. Because mindfulness, we talk about going back to mindfulness too in some way. So is there a contradiction here? Or I'm confused.
Within a sense, I mean a kind of somatic intelligence that we all actually have, and that we maybe lose along the way, especially when you grew up with maybe 5 siblings. Is that the right word? Yeah. So maybe you are trained yourself for years to eat fast. Otherwise, you would have so much from eating, or you grew up with hunger, yeah, and you are forced to eat up your plate without even being hungry anymore. So you overeat the signals of your body. You overeat your natural way of eating, and to come back to the knowledge of the body, to the somatic intelligence of the body, is coming back to an innocent way of relating to food. Because I really feel free in my way of eating. That includes, actually it includes everything. I can eat a piece of meat, I can eat some dairy, but most of the time I follow this kind of somatic intelligence. What would my energy, how the eating influences my body energy, and so I have always a direct feedback from my body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I want to give several comments here. Do we want to read that from Cindy?
Cindy writes, multitasking while eating and reading the paper or watching TV. Eating becomes automatic, and we don't pay much attention to what we're eating or how much. And yes, we miss those signals from the body that say we are full. Oh, how much we are enjoying. How much are we enjoying?
The meal. Yes, you continue. And then Elena says, I like eating something that reminds me my childhood. And Misty, she loves the food and sex reference. Chefy. Wonderful. Okay.
Wonderful. People are talking.
Yeah.
Well, Elena, Elena brought up a really good point about eating something reminded of her childhood, because food that we eat can evoke strong memories. I mean, the first time we had it, sometime where we had it, who we were with when we had it. So it is that, that substance. There's not a lot of things that can bring those memories back to you. Food does that as well.
Yeah, and integral nutrition would mean to look at these things if that is necessary. If I have difficulties to change something, it is maybe I really have strong associations or I have strong memories that would block me in any way. So to resolve good or especially bad habits or bad connections with former experiences can be helpful. And in integral nutrition, we acknowledge that these kind of memories are there and can influence our actual eating.
And what would you do as a doctor and psychotherapist? Would you work as a psychotherapist with people when they have problems? For instance,
first of all,
okay.
Yeah, first of all, for most people, it's really to direct their awareness to these different aspects. It is not just about what they should eat, but on the way to that new eating is to look at where do I come from? How was it in my family? What kind of condition do I bring with me from my childhood and from my history? And if there are painful memories, then to work with it in the moment. To become, but first of all, it's to become aware, and to embrace it with love and understanding, and not so much, as you said, to put yourself down because you couldn't make it. It is. I think that's a lot of understanding and love necessary to heal some of the wounds we carry, and we do to ourselves, even by beating ourselves up for not being always on the right track. I mean, it's not necessary to be always on the right track. I think it's much more important to have a direction, and to be loving with yourself on this way.
This brings me to the next thing, because, yes, what is the right track? There are so many fashions outside. People say, you should eat that, you shouldn't eat that. Then half a year later, there's another research, and somebody says, no, like in Germany, butter was bad. And then they found we had to eat margarine in my childhood from the Reform House, which was a sort of health food store. And then they find out that margarine is not good. And then they say, eggs are bad, and then they find out eggs are good. And so, what shall we believe?
Big question.
I think your body tells you what is bad by how you react to it and how you feel. And anything in moderation is not, I don't think, is a detriment, to your body. And again, it's the moderation part. You think about how the Orientals would eat and how people would eat in the past. It was always local food. First of all, we broadened how we eat because now we're global, and we can get, if we want strawberries in the dead of winter, we can get strawberries in the dead of winter. We can get whatever we want when we want it. We've become a very creative in that way of finding outlets to feed ourselves. But on that tone, we're taking a body that has evolved over how many years, a million years, or however long it's been, and was trained to function a certain way through food and to function properly a certain way. And our bodies were built to eat, I think, to eat local foods and to eat seasonal foods. And we've completely blown that out of the water now. So where butter was good for you in the wintertime, in the summertime you might want to eat olive oil, that kind of a philosophy, just to adapt your body with the change in the seasons and the change of foods that are available.
I mean, in integral nutrition, I usually use the picture of a tree, and coming from the different genetic roots we have, we all go through one, I don't know the English word, this central part, this
the trunk.
the trunk, exactly, the trunk. And in the trunk we have kind of knowledge about nutrition that's basically true for everybody, like eat local, eat seasonal, don't have too much sugar, don't overeat, and stuff like this. And then we have different branches. And in the branches we are different. We have people who can deal with carbohydrates pretty well, like people in the Mediterranean. We have people eating a lot of meat and fat meat, even like the Inuits in the north. So we have different ways of relate to our environment, also in terms of nutrition. So it is more a question, in my perspective, to find out what's really true for me, yeah, coming from this general knowledge that's basically true for everybody, and to find out what's true for me, and that means to listen to my body and to follow basically some simple instructions. And it's not so much about whether eggs are good for me, but it's always how much or how many eggs do we have per day, per week. So we can never answer one question without the other, what we eat and how much we eat.
Yeah. Just because eggs come in a dozen doesn't mean you have to sit down and have the whole dozen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there are some more nice comments from Dave Pipe. He says, it is a case of eating things in moderation. And actually, Dave, I find this really difficult with my background of, better I eat now, otherwise the others get it. So I have still something to...
Well, actually, you've improved in that regard. Because now I'm supposed to be the one who cleans up. Yeah, if there's something left over, I have to eat it. It's a rule.
Okay.
I don't know.
Heidi, what you can do, you can just slow down a little bit. Just take a little bit more time, slow down, and feel what are the different levels of getting stuffed or getting full. Because the body actually responds very early. So ask yourself, if somebody would take away my plate now, how would I react? Would I become panic? Or is it kind of okay? Or is it kind of, yeah, of course, it's no problem anymore. And so you can find different levels of responding or even reacting to the fact that somebody would take your plate. And so you can learn and do it in a playful way. Just do it in a playful way. It's no problem.
Yeah, and I can tell you there are several voices inside, and they all say different things. So it depends on the choice which I'm making, to whom I want to listen and whom I want to follow.
Yeah, how we relate to these voices. And if we relate to these voices playfully, with love, so we don't go against. Because if we go against, then they usually get stronger. And they kill our pleasure.
Yeah. Here is a nice comment from Misty, who lives in the Arctic Ocean, at the Arctic Ocean.
At the very edge, yes.
And she says, wow, so great to hear someone reference the Inuit. These are the people I live amongst, and I do enjoy their eating habits.
Thank you.
Very nice. And then we have here Kate Boya, how do you pronounce that?
Mm-hmm. The good and bad thing about eating homemade, real nutritional food is that when I do get a craving for a childhood food, it never lives up to the memory and sure doesn't sit very well. Yeah.
This is a common experience, I think, isn't it? And then there's a decision, or you eat more of it and try to find, as I often do, with chocolate and things like that, or you decide, okay, it doesn't taste anymore. And it is also, I mean, Sven, you probably know it, and Chef, you know it either, that the food doesn't have the same amount of nutrition and the same amount of taste anymore as it had 50 years ago. 60 years ago. The substances, the minerals and everything is much less than it was. You want to speak to that?
Yeah, I would love to speak to that. I said, one of the reasons I started changing my eating habits even before I found out about the good and the bad was that things just didn't taste. Like I'm sitting there one night and I'm eating chicken and it doesn't taste like chicken. And I'm going, when chicken doesn't taste like chicken, you got a problem. Everything else I always say tastes like chicken, but this was like terrible. So I started researching and I started buying free-range chicken, which was a big buzzword for a while too, and I found that it went back to tasting the way it was supposed to taste. Buying organic products because they tasted better. I switched to organic milk, and I'm wow. First glass of milk, I thought I was drinking cream. It was such the thickness and the texture and the flavor of I've been drinking like and I drank 4% milk. I drank whole milk, so it was like it almost made the other milk seem like 2 or 1%, but it just didn't have the flavor. So my initial change in what I was eating became just because things weren't tasting the way they were supposed to. So as we've genetically modified so many foods and we've changed foods over the year, and we've I think the turning point in the history of the Americans was sliced loaf white bread, because once that became available, everything started to follow. We started making everything packaged. We started making everything easily available, and we sacrificed a lot of the integrity of the product just to make things easier to get. And then because we didn't want to throw them away, so they'd last longer. That's part of the problem.
Absolutely.
I recall an interview I read, it's been a few years now, with a Florida tomato grower who said that his product was judged by its color, by its uniformity, by its roundness, and by its hardness, resisting, being injured on the way to market. And he said, I don't get 1 penny for taste.
And that's definitely something they never added to those tomatoes either, because they look good and they held up, but you might as well have eaten the cardboard box they came in, because the flavor, and it just really wasn't there. Now that we do have some, I'm in Florida now, we do have some good tomatoes all year round, but you have to look for them. I mean, they do have some pretty good quality. But there's certain times of the year you just have to say, hey, it's not when they're growing it. It's going to suck. Why eat it? The worst thing we can do, I think, is to eat something and be almost done with it and then realize or admit to ourselves, well, this is pretty bad. And then, of course, we're going to finish it anyway because we don't want to waste the food, and then look for something else to maybe get rid of that taste in our mouth, which is just insane. The first bite of that, you should go, oh, no, this isn't going to make it. Just put it down. Find something else to eat. If that's your only option, well, that's another thing. But if there's other options, we need to start taking them.
Absolutely. It is also to take a stand and to value and to make a commitment not to eat this bad stuff, this non-tasting stuff, and it's also to reclaim our taste and flavor again, and to make a stand for it.
And you know what? When we start making those stands and we stop buying this bad food, the people that are selling this bad food are going to start to lose money, and they're going to have to rethink what they're doing. I know that's part of the big organic movement. It's this catch-22 in the United States where the prices of organic products are so high because it's a lot of work to produce them, and only small farms are producing them, because it is a lot of work, and why work if you don't have to? I mean, that's the American way. If we can get away with doing something and still get paid without having to work too hard for it. So all the companies that are making products and spraying the hell out of them just blew my mind. They changed our chemicals that we spray on plants now. We used to have this product called Roundup. Well, it isn't effective anymore, so they took half of the compound of Agent Orange and put it into the Roundup to make Endless Duo, which is now they're going to spray on all of our plants. So another reason to buy organic. Good things, you're not putting bad things in your body, better flavors.
Yeah. Flavor, no, Sven, you lately in our other talk, you said organic is mainly also so important to give how do you say, for our earth, for our soil, because non-organic is destroying our basis of life.
I mean, that's also a part of an integral approach to really see and become aware and being even touched by the fact what we do with our plants, what we do with our animals, what we do with our planets and with other creatures if we buy this industrial food. Yeah. And it's a very and actually we hold a lot of power giving our money to the big companies, or to give our money to the smaller farms and to the people who are really passionate about good food, and we can support them just to give our money to them and eating their stuff. Yeah, and so it's a very democratic way actually to change the world, because everybody spends money on food and who to give it to.
And that means that the consciousness must be raised about these things, because I'm sure still today many people, if they know it, but they don't believe it.
Yeah, just put it aside, so that make really people aware, and to make them see how much power they actually have, and how much influence it actually has, how much of the carbohydrate footprint, yeah, we can diminish by just eating more organic stuff, or eating less meat or more organic meat. And there's so many things we can do.
Yeah, they were asking just to give up meat like 1 day a week. You know, it's not a big deal, and the impact it would make on the carbon footprint because of meat traveling from wherever it was to where you were would make a significant impact. Right. People think that they have to do so much to make a difference. You don't. You have to take little steps. You know, and nobody's asking to give up everything at one time. Nobody's saying to go, it's all or nothing. It's do what you can when you can. Make better decisions about what you're eating. Make better decisions about the chemicals that are in your home. Everything about your life. Your skin is the biggest part of your body, and if you're using chemicals on it, they're going into your body. They don't have to be ingested through your mouth.
There's another interesting comment here from Aslin. Not everyone can afford organic food. Do your best and forget the rest, says Tony Horton.
Yeah. I think that's also important, that what Chief Dennis just said, that we go step by step by step, and this kind of fundamentalism in eating, you have to do it, and you have to do it all now and all at once, and never do something else again. I think that's not realistic for many people. So because every little step counts, and if we have this in mind, we are even truer to ourselves and how the world really works, than to change everything at once. I mean,
that's very difficult, and we're setting ourselves up for failure when we try to make those big leaps. If it's not a medical necessity, if your life doesn't depend upon it, you can take some time and you can do it, a few steps at a time. I would always think of baby steps, to better help. You always say, let's do things in baby steps. Sometimes that's what it is. It's just a matter of, you're going to make this journey. You don't have to walk it all in one day. You're going to get there. You just have to keep going towards the right end. And if if things aren't available, if you have to buy something else, if things happen, well, that's life. Life happens, and you're going to do your best to eat the best you can all the time and put good products into your body. But if you stumble along the way, it's not something to beat yourself up about. It's not something to think you've just ruined your life. You get back on the right track and you just keep moving forward.
Absolutely, absolutely.
There's Michael Thomas, which gives you a big kudos. Such great insights, Chef. Wonderful. Yeah, and Aslin says Europe is dependent on seasons. Unlike the US, we don't have affordable organic food all around.
All year round.
All year round. I don't know, because in my childhood we had only organic food. And we didn't starve in winter. We did sauerkraut, we made sauerkraut, we had cucumbers, fermented cucumbers, and the apples were in the cellar. and I mean, it was still organic food, and we did, as I said, we didn't starve. So it depends on how we see that.
It was accidentally organic.
Accidentally.
It's just the way things
It
were
was.
grown.
There was Elena. She said we call it now organic. I don't find the comment now here. We call it now organic, but it is natural.
Yeah, in our grandparents' days, all food was organic.
So, shall we go back there, or shall we go ahead?
Backward or forward? Yes.
I'm by forward. I think we should integrate everything what we have learned so far about food, about the nutrition, about the allergies, what you were saying, Chef Dennis, and do really our best to acknowledge all sides in our life. Not only, as you said before, Sven, not only the nutritional part, but also the psychological part and the social part, you know. Nothing is worse when you have a big invitation, for instance, and people come and say, oh, I don't eat that, and I don't eat that, and I don't eat that. This is, woo, eat it for that time when you are invited, or don't go there. You know? Something like that. So think about all these components which makes life, how can I say, rounder?
Fuller.
Fuller.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah,
and
so
more complicated.
We have begun a little later, so we went a little bit over our 45 minutes limit. I would like everybody to say a last word. What do you really want to take our watchers to take away from our session today? Who wants to begin?
I'll start. I'm not shy. Well, I think the last thing I could tell people is just to start thinking about what your lifestyle is. You know, I for years really abused my body eating, and you know, as a chef, I worked terrible hours and long hours and just didn't care about what went in my body as long as something did. And now that I'm seeing the error of my ways, you know, I want to live a little longer and I want to stay healthy. So now I'm learning more. I'm embracing more ideas. I've got friends that are helping me along the way. And again, it's not a journey, you know, like my friend Leah Segedy says, you don't have to eat the whole elephant in one sitting.
But give me time.
Yeah, you can come back and take bites as you need to be, you know, as you need to do. So that's it. You know, do what you can, feel better about yourself, and try and make these changes that'll help you live better, live healthier, so you're around for a lot longer.
And actually, that's a very integral approach. Yeah, don't eat the elephant at once, and see that there are so many, that the elephant has so many different parts that are really all belong to the whole picture, and that's it. Yeah, that we see the whole picture, that we value the whole picture, and that we do what we can, and staying on the road and coming back.
Good, and we will eat as long as we are alive, and we have the choice to eat in a way which is good for us. So thank you very much, everybody.
Very much.
Here in the comment stream is a lot going on. I thank you so much. We will come back and answer afterwards, and or tomorrow morning.
I hope they will answer too.
Oh, sure they do.
Yeah. Lots of comments.
Yeah, and next week we end our first season of the Wisdom Factory, and we will have live music and art. Integral, aller integral. Art and live music à la integral, like we had today, cooking and eating à la integral. So I invite you all to come, and we will have probably a bit of Prosecco. Is it allowed?
Well, I think
I hope this is allowed. And come and do the brindisi with us. I might even sing it, you know, the brindisi before we take the...
You don't want to miss that. No.
Enjoy.
Good. Thank you again, and see you next week.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Here we are again with a little delay, and hearing words of wisdom let it be in the wisdom factory.
Continue. Yes.
Yeah, hello and welcome to the Wisdom Factory, which is a forum for open-minded people like you and us. And they have knowledge and experience and wisdom to share with the world. I'm Heidi Hornlein.
And I'm M.Davenpo.
Our topics cover many areas of human experience. We invite people who not only have interesting things to say about their topics and about their lives, but they have also an evolved perspectives on themselves and what they are doing. They all feel inspired to contribute to the creation of a better world by helping people gain a better understanding and perspective on what is happening both in the world and in their own life, and what they can contribute to the resolution of so many problems which we are facing at this moment of history.
You're watching the 15th episode of the Wisdom Factory. It's entitled Cooking and Eating a la Integral with Chef Dennis Littley and Sven Werchan. But before we introduce our guest, a couple words about us, your hosts. We both were attracted to integral theory several years ago, which deeply changed our lives. So we're counselors and coaches, especially for creating thriving relationships. And we run an association, a retreat, and a guest house called Paradiso Integrale in Umbria, Italy, where we're calling from tonight, where you are welcome to stop by. And please do.
So we are happy that finally we have Chef Dennis here, and we can begin with presenting him. I don't think we need much presentation because he is so well known in Google+. I think 600,000 followers you have, and you have 3 shows which are going on. Good Day Google, the Food and Booth show, and Around the Kitchen Table. So you are a chef and very open-minded and interested in new things. So welcome, Chef Dennis.
Well, thank you very much, and I'm really sorry about all the problems we had with me getting in. It's one of those things, you don't know what's going on, but I'm actually signed in as you now, so I'm on.
All right.
It's okay. It's at least you are here, and we don't know why you fell out. So
what's it like to be me?
It's good. It's a good feeling. I'm sitting in the big chair.
All right.
Okay, so will you introduce Sven?
And
He's
Sven,
Dr. Sven.
Dr. Sven Werchan. He's a medical doctor, and he also holds a PhD in nutritional medicine. He's a psychotherapist.
People affect their choices concerning nutrition, and to really to look on the topic of nutrition in the context of the whole world, of the world of the client, and to help them to find ways that are appropriate for who they are and what they are in their lives right now.
Well, that's a much wider perspective than I think people ordinarily think of when they think of food, primarily as nutrition. But obviously, you know, we use food in all kinds of circumstances, sometimes just for celebration. We raise toasts to one another, and that's not for nutrition, but it's still a very significant use of food, for example. And when we're driving on the road, we just stop and grab a quick bite and drive on, and don't worry too much about what's happening in our stomach. So
yeah.
There's all, and maybe that's the way you need to do it if you want to get someplace on time. So it can be very complicated.
Yeah, it can be complicated, especially if we are not aware about the deeper motivations that we have. It's not only hunger. I mean, it has many social functions. Our eating has many social functions, and we should acknowledge this, because only when we embrace and acknowledge these functions, we can talk about maybe to change them if that is necessary or that is helpful. But without seeing this, people are not able or even willing to have a sustained change in their life if that is necessary, especially for their health or for other reasons.
I would like at this point to ask Chef Dennis. I have heard you had done some changes in your nutrition. How does it feel like? Do you think you have to renounce on something? Or are you able, give up something? Or are you able with your good way of cooking to make it so beautiful, this food, that you don't feel the missing parts?
Well, I've gone through a lot of different stages with my cooking. I have been basically a very basic chef, though, and I think minimalistic in some terms of where when I cook meats, vegetables, and fish, I like olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, salt, and pepper with a few fresh herbs. So, I mean, I do take that minimalistic approach to a lot of what I do eat. So that doesn't really seem to bother me as much as when you start getting into sauces or you start getting into side dishes, and then you start noticing changes. Yeah, I went gluten-free in October. It was my own choice. I hadn't been tested. I just think I was eating way too much gluten. There's a comedian, I always say it, he goes, I don't know what gluten is, but evidently it's delicious. So, you know.
Pasta, Italian spaghetti, it's delicious. Yeah.
No, Barilla makes a wonderful gluten-free pasta, and that's what I eat now, so it's been working pretty good for me. And I didn't get the desired results I was hoping for when I went gluten-free, but I got some unexpected results.
Education trainer, and has been inspired for more than 20 years by the integral theory of Ken Wilber, Steve McIntosh, Andrew Cohen, and others. He works as a seminar leader, advisor, coach, and he lives in Berlin. Mm-hmm.
So welcome, Sven.
Welcome, Sven.
Hello, welcome. It's nice to be with you.
Yeah, and we have to say to the listeners, if there are Germans here, we have already done a show in German talking about integral nutrition. Mm-hmm. So you can look it up in the Wisdom Factory or on our website, which you see here, the powerofrelationship.com, and go to the Wisdom Factory. Okay.
So
integral
we have the beginning.
Cooking and eating. What does it mean? Shall we first ask Sven, what would you say? What is integral?
In regards to nutrition.
Yeah, integral would mean for me that we include in our perspective all aspects of eating itself. So when we talk about nutrition, we talk about what we eat. Yeah? But eating is an experience. Eating has a lot to do with what we experience, how the food is smelling, what the taste is, what happened around the table with other people, and all these things. And integral means to take all this into consideration and to see eating as something that it actually is a very complex phenomenon in our world, and it's not just about carbohydrates and proteins and the mental concept that science is presenting us about eating.
Okay. This is an interesting perspective. Mm-hmm. So you would say if somebody goes to the doctor, to you, and you have to decide what they shall eat, you wouldn't constrict yourself on telling them no carbohydrates or no gluten or no what, but you would do a further inquiry?
Yeah, I mean, it can be useful to exclude certain parts of our nutrition to try how we feel without carbohydrates or how we feel without gluten and stuff. But but usually we present as doctors a certain definition of what a good nutrition would be for the customer or for the patient. But usually we don't help them to find a way to implement this in their world. And to implement this in their world, it would mean to look how they deal with nutrition in their world, how they experience this, what kind of additional function maybe eating has in their life, how that would affect other people, how other people... I heard an important word from Chief Dennis. That's creativity. I think to see nutrition or eating is a behavior, basically. So when we ask people to change a behavior, it's not an easy thing to do. It is not about mentally or understand something mentally, but to really change a behavior that's deeply ingrained in our biological body, in our psychological body, even in our social body. And creativity is always a great resource to change process. So because usually we say to people, don't eat this and don't eat that. And then the people are standing there, then what to do now? Mm-hmm. And to start to think out of the box and to really go into a supermarket or a health food store and to find new ways to first buy stuff and then to create stuff and then to eat in different situations. It just needs creativity. Creativity in cooking, creativity in creating situations. If I'm on the road a lot, I need to prepare some food. Otherwise, I'm just the subject to the opportunities along the way. So I think it's a major resource, and a good cook can help us to enhance this. Because he has the creativity in cooking and can help us to create new recipes.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
At this point, I would like to acknowledge people who are here listening to us, watching us too. Yeah. I see Michael Thomas, Cindy Fleming Alton, Elena Bellometti, la beautiful Italiana, Dave Pye, Bridget O. I don't know. Marcus Dieterle is here too.
Okay,
wonderful.
Okay.
Maybe others. I cannot scroll down too much. And then there is a comment from Michael Thomas, which I want to show you. He says, awareness and adjustments, modifications, and applications are the key to healthy and happy longevity. I agree, Chef Dennis.
Definitely, and it's just a matter of putting the right things in your body at the right times. And we were talking about integral, and food is really integral in a way as it takes up all of your senses. It integrates every one of your senses into the activity. I mean, when you're cooking, and when you're eating, there's sight, there's smell, there's hearing, like sometimes your food will crackle and pop and make different noises. There's everything, the taste, everything comes into play. And you're using all of your senses to really enjoy the food. And you have to approach it that way. That's why when cooking, a lot of one result for me personally was that a fog felt like it was lifted off of me and I could think clearer. I didn't seem to need as much sleep. And I didn't have cravings for baked goods. So that was just kind of odd, and it was like, kind of a good thing. And then I have a new doctor, and she diagnosed me as being soy and dairy allergic. So those are the new challenges I put on my plate. And soy, except that it's in everything in the United States, is just something I don't need in my diet. It just means I have to go back to making more of what I do eat unless I can find some healthy options. And a lot of times there's vegan options that are made without soy, so that's a good way to look for different products to add in. But it's not going to stifle my creativity. It's not going to. It may change a little bit of how I eat, but since I cook at home a good percentage of the time, anyway, I can address what I'm making and just make some changes along the way. So I feel very fortunate in the fact that I have the ability to do that, and I'm going to start making more recipes that way and share them on my blog too, so hopefully I can pass some of it along.
This is wonderful, Chef Dennis. I think you should come to Italy, because here this minimalistic approach, you find it everywhere. We don't have all these sauces. Sometimes now in the supermarket you find it too, but this is the American influence. Here, olive oil, salt, pepper, pepperoncino, and vinegar. that's the only thing we use, you know. Maybe some garlic sometimes, or some herbs, but that's it. So
not much pepper.
not much pepper, no. More
Well,
pepper.
I find myself using more pepper now because I'm trying to cut back on salt. So where I won't take the salt shaker to the table with me, I will take the pepper grinder with me, and I use sea salt for everything too. So you know, whether that's better for me or not, you know, I'm not sure. But I think the major problem in the United States is that we eat and do so many things that the rest of the world would never think of. I mean, we allow products to go into the items that we eat and not to be labeled properly, and you know, over in Europe that doesn't happen. That doesn't float. So you know, that's part of the problem. Like, you guys are eating a better diet to begin with because a lot of the bad things aren't in your food as they are in the United States. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. I do have some suggestions about things that we can find more easily in Italy. We have a friend coming from Chicago in a few days, and he's bringing a giant jar of peanut butter for me, for which I'm very grateful.
This is adaptation problem in Europe, but without sugar.
No, no sugar.
No sugar.
That's fine. Yeah, I know. I feel bad sometimes when I say I don't really like Nutella, and that seems like what Europe lives on is Nutella. I like my peanut butter too.
Yeah. Sven, what do you say to that?